Hi guys, today I'm going to be doing an 8 eyeshadow palettes video, if I make it through. That's kind of the goal for today. We'll see what happens. But I have the new Fenty Beauty Snap Shadow eyeshadow palettes. I will have timestamps down below if you'd like to skip ahead to a particular palette. This is going to be kind of a first impression. I'll show you swatches. I'll show you how they look on the eye with a look. We'll see. I mean, I was just doing something completely different. These showed up. That's why my makeup might look a little bit bizarre, is because I've just removed my, eye makeup, a little concealer and whatnot. But yeah, let's go ahead and get started. So these eyeshadow palettes are launching on December 26th, so I'm super excited to be getting a sneak peek. They're going to retail for $25 each, which I think is a pretty good price. That's American, or 2 for $45, which I think is cool. And I think the reason they're doing the 2 for $45 and the reason they're called the Snap Shadows is because they do snap together, which I think is super cute. I don't have the Canadian pricing, but I'm assuming it's just going to be like a smidge more. If you've missed any of my other Fenty Beauty reviews, I've done both the foundations, I've done lip swatches, I've done couple of things. I will have those listed down below, but no need to delay any further. Let's go ahead and start getting these palettes on my eyes. So starting out with palette number 1, this one is in the shade True Neutrals, which I think is going to be kind of like a crowd pleaser for everybody. I like the packaging. It is quite simple. You're getting 6 different shades in each palette. They all, for the most part, have a mix of shimmers and matte, except for one is all shimmers. From what I can tell, it would have been cool just to do an all matte palette as well, I feel like. So there is what the shades look like. It feels really creamy. It's a pretty, like on the basic side, but that's kind of what it's supposed to be. This would also be a good palette potentially to purchase if you want to snap it to like one of the bolder ones, and then you've got like your neutrals and you can mix it with something more bold. There's also 3 new brushes that are launching. So we have the Precision, this one here is the Precision Blending, Plush Eyeshadow, and Precision Definition. So I'll use these today too. Precision blending isn't necessarily one that I would use for blending. I like something a little bit fluffier. I'd probably lay down product with this, or maybe get in and do a little more detailed work. I'm gonna start with this warm brown right here. I'm gonna try not to talk too much because this video will get very long. But they're also launching a color switch type product that you kind of rub your brush in. Like, it's not it's like a tool, not like a liquid or anything, which would be super handy to have right now. I'm like, I don't even know if I have enough clean eyeshadow brushes to do 8 eyeshadow looks. I think you can also kind of use those things that you used to use, or I used to use anyways, to do sock buns, to switch up color. I feel like that was a trend there for a little while. And again, excuse this circle of where I removed my makeup. I'm gonna take the brush that they said's for blending and put in the deeper brown. And none of these looks are gonna be like, super detailed or crazy, because that's not the kind of makeup I do. And I'm doing 8 eyeshadow looks. This is definitely not something I would blend with. Kind of like it for the lower lash line though. This is like a much cooler tone brown, but it's actually showing up nice and cool tone, but it actually looks brown. I find some cool tone browns either end up pulling really warm on me, or they just don't look like a brown. They kind of turn into a purple. I'm going to use this bronzy shade on my lid. And I'm not going to use every shade from the palette, just the ones that kind of call to me, or the kind of look that I would tend to go for from one of these palettes. And finally, I'm going to take this cream shade here and put that on my brow bone. And I'm going to take a little bit of both browns and run those on my lower lash line. So here is look number 1. It's a pretty basic look. It's a good basic palette. For me, if I was to go pick up like one of these palettes, this wouldn't be the one that I would pick up because it is really similar to other things I have out there. But I do, like I said, think it is a good part of the collection because it would be a good one to pair with other shades. That's why I would have loved to see like a good neutral matte palette in there. But otherwise, yeah, I think it's a really pretty look. So let's go ahead and move on to number 2. Okay, back for number 2. My eyes and lips are already unhappy. This is going to be interesting. The second palette here is Too Cool Neutrals. So this is an interesting palette. You've got a matte mauve shade in here, a matte kind of like gray brown, and then the other shades are shimmers, 2 kind of lilacs, a purple, and a kind of taupey, I guess, shade. This is what the swatches look like here. If you know anything about me, I'm a warm tone gal, so this is definitely not the kind of palette that I would go for just in terms of preference, but let's put it on my eyeballs. I'm gonna start out, oh, these shades all have names I didn't realize, which is cool because sometimes many palettes they skip out on the names. So I'm gonna start with this middle shade here, Wife It Up. Sorry I didn't say the names for the first one, I honestly did not notice. I'm curious to see if this actually comes out looking purple. Oh, it does. because sometimes shades like this on my skin just don't actually translate. But this actually comes out a really beautiful shade. I think that's the reason why I stay away from neutrals and cooler tones sometimes, because they pull a weird shade on my skin where I'm kind of like a goldeny peach skin tone. Some things can look a little bit weird, same as if you have like pigmented lips or anything like that. Colors can just look a little different than what they look like in the pan, but this actually looks really pretty. I'm super impressed with the way it doesn't look dusty, which is always my fear. I'm now going to take this deeper shade in Getting Toasty, stamp this on the outer corner. I feel like all these colors are translating really well. Like they look pretty much the same on my eyes as they do in the pan. This brush has nothing on it, but I think that's really good. And I liked the other eyeshadow palette that Rihanna had launched, the Moroccan palette, I think it was. And I liked it and I used it, but I don't find myself like reaching back for it, while these I feel like I would reach for. And then gotta take this purple, right? This is in Hey Auntie. And pop this on the lid. I actually really love the way all these colors look. Normally, like I wear purple on my eyes, not a lot I would say, but enough. But normally I pair it with like a warm brown or put a bronzer in my crease, but I think these colors really complement the purple really pretty. They complement them really well. So I kind of like diffuse the purple. It would be more metallic, I think, if I had kind of packed it more on the lid, but I kind of diffused it a bit. I'm going to take both of these pink shades, You There and Upper Class, and put them on the inner corner. Ooh, very pretty. Very metallic. I was thinking of skipping mascara just for ease of removal, but I find like an eyeshadow look really comes together when you put on mascara. So here is look number 2. I opted out on putting concealer back under my eyes because it's just too much. I paired it with the Stunna lip paint in Uncuffed, which you may see show up in a few of these looks because it's just so easy to pair with anything. But I gotta say, I actually really love the way that this look turned out. I loved pairing those shades with the purple. It's something I don't often do, and like I said, I really like that those shades actually do translate on my eyes and my skin tone, which is something I don't always experience with other eyeshadows. So I think this is a really pretty look. Again, this is not the palette that I would necessarily reach for to purchase, but I'm definitely glad that I tried it out because it's a little bit different of a look than I normally do. So unlike the first 2 palettes, this one is definitely one that I would be considering purchasing for myself. It's in the shade 3 Deep Neutrals. You're getting like a matte orange, which is always my jam. This one has some more mattes in it than some of the other palettes. So this is what it looks like swatched here. You've got 2 shimmers, so kind of like a salmony shimmer, a more burgundy shimmer, and then the 4 matte shades. And this shade is called Fire Freak. I only picked up a little bit. I had a feeling it would be super pigmented, and it is. But this is a gorgeous shade. I love orange eyeshadows and pink eyeshadow, red eyeshadow. Just feels like home when I put it on my eyes. Something warm. I have really been trying to experiment the past year with purples, greens, blues, and I love it, especially green. Green is something I've really enjoyed wearing lately, but when I put these shades on, I'm like, good to be back. This is a bit of an older Fenty brush that I do like. It is the Eyeshadow 200. I'm gonna take that kind of wine shade and I'm gonna put it in the corner, in the outer corner, on the lower half and upper half. I think pairing these kinds of reds and burgundies with orange is really pretty. Instead of like a warm brown, I think the purples and the burgundies with orange is such a nice look. I'm gonna take the outer shimmer in Smash or Pass and then Heaven Sent. So I'm gonna put this one kind of towards the outer part. Smash or Pass. Remember that website Hot or Not? That was maybe about 10 years ago. I think that was a website. That was horrible. I don't think I ever actually used it. I just remember being a thing. And this is the lighter shimmer. Ooh, this is very pretty. I have like no extra base down or anything like I mentioned. Taking a little bit of the wine shade and a little bit of the brown shade, and I'm just gonna run it kind of along the lash line. I don't want it to even look like liner. Keeping it quite warm on the lips as well. This is from the Fenty Glossy Posse set, which I swatched on Instagram. I'll have all my Fenty holiday stuff linked down below. This one is in the shade Cheeky. But yeah, here is the warm look. I am super happy with the way that this turned out. I can definitely see myself reaching for this palette again, but let's go ahead and move into number 4. Moving into palette number 4, this is another exciting one for me in the shade Rose, which has a bunch of gorgeous pinks in here. So this one you're getting 3 mattes and 3 shimmers. This one has, so these are the 3 mattes. You got a light pink, hot pink, which I love hot pink eyeshadow, and then kind of this like mauvey pinky brown, which I think is a really good complement to the other shades that are in here. Then you have 2 metallics that are similar to the other palettes, but then this one has like a ton of glitter in it. I don't know if you can see how much more reflective and glittery that shade is. My looks are going to be disintegrating as this video goes on, by the way, so no need to point that out. Let's start with the kind of mauvey shade in Spice Trip. I think it's really pretty. Of course, let me know down below if you plan on picking up this palette, or sorry, any of the palettes. This is pulling, like, see what I mean? Like, this shade is pulling quite pink on me. This brush is cleaned. I like it though. It's just more pink than it looks in the pan, which I don't mind. My eyes are already so sore that every time I run this brush on my eyelids, it's like painful. Why did I decide to do this? I would actually like to do an all matte look with just the pink, but I want to make use of some of the shimmers that are in here today. So I'm going to take the pink on the same brush. It's like there's so many eyeshadow palette launches lately. We've talked about this before, but it's just like, it gets overwhelming how many eyeshadow palettes there are. But then Fenty launches something and you're like, ooh, I'm excited solely because it's Fenty. It's just one of those brands, for me anyways. I know it's not for everybody, but I'm gonna take this super glittery one and just see how that looks. Ooh, yeah, this is definitely a brighter, more glittery formula than the other two. I'm gonna bring this like up actually. Wow, that's very reflective. I don't know if you can tell. So this look actually came out a lot less pink than I kind of anticipated. I didn't want to go too heavy on the hot pink because I feel like I do that kind of look all the time, and I really wanted to play with the glittery shade, which I think is a really interesting shade. It looks like I put like legitimate glitter on my eyes. It wasn't hard to work with. I don't think I got, like, I got a little bit of fallout, but nothing too bad. So I thought that that was a really interesting shade, and I feel like that's a pretty versatile palette because I got this kind of like more purpley pinky look, but you could also get a very pinky look out of it. So it's a really pretty palette. I'm not wearing a Fenty lip this time around. This is a Nude Sticks Lip Glacé, I believe, in Nude 04, but yeah, another good palette. So let's get this off and move on to 5. So number 5 is an absolutely gorgeous palette. This one is in Peach. I love peaches. By the way, I have glitter all over my face now from that glittery shade, but you're getting 3 mattes in here and 3 shimmers. The shimmers are so pretty, super reflective. This is one of those kind of gorgeous goldy pinks, really strong gold, but then also quite a nice pink, more shimmery orange, and then a more kind of shimmery corally salmon-y shade. I will say on the matte sides, the mattes are very pretty, but these two are, they're not similar, but I feel like on my skin tone, and if you have a deeper skin tone, I'm not sure how much difference, like how much they're really gonna pop on the skin. So of course I will test that right now. And then this is, you know, the kind of shade that I really love. So I'm gonna go ahead and prime my eyes. I believe I said I've been priming my eyes with the Fenty concealer. I love their eyeshadow primer too, but I just couldn't track it down at this moment. I'm curious to see if there's a difference between either of the two. So I'm gonna start with this one here, Peach Me, on this eye and see what that looks like. I think this palette paired with the pink palette would be a really nice complement to each other. But I think you can see here, like, it doesn't really show up much on my eye. So I'm gonna go with the next shade in on this eye. So, oh yeah, I get more color here. I don't know if you can tell. I feel like the peach shade I could maybe use as on my brow bone or like as a base shade, but it doesn't have much pigmentation on me. But this shade is pretty. It's like a pastel, but it's there. I'm gonna bring that up quite high. Now taking the deeper peachy shade. I mean, it's not like, it's deeper by comparison, but it's still not that deep. But it's beautiful. You can see when I pack it down, it looks really pretty. Actually not, I think I'm gonna use my finger with this shade. And I'm gonna bring it all over the lid. This would be a gorgeous like one shadow look kind of shade, I think, in my opinion. I want to just leave it matte, honestly. I really love the way that this shade looks on its own. It desperately needs mascara. But I'm going to take just a smidge of this shade here, which is Churro, and put that in the center of my lid. I don't know if that's even really sticking to the matte. Oh yeah, there it is. And then on my inner corner, I'm going to take this shade here, Bellini Baby. Yes. I feel like you could use some of these as face highlights. Starting to really hate the way the rest of my face makeup is looking. Like, I've tried to touch it up like 40 times and it's just annoying me. So ignore that. Hopefully it's not taking away from the eyes, but I really love the way that this look came out. I did pair it with, again, one of the Fenty glosses. This one is in Hot Chocolate, and I gotta say, I think this palette is really pretty. It's one of my favorites that I've tried so far for sure. My only kind of downfall for this one is I wish like this was the lightest matte, then this was the second deepest, then there was something else to create just a little bit more depth, because while I love this kind of peachy shade all over the lid, I wouldn't really be able to create much depth with it just completely on its own. That being said, I always reach for something like a bronzer because I'm already putting that on my face, put that through the crease if my palette is missing something like that. So something to keep in mind, not a make or break, but just wanted to point that out. But yeah, I really like this look. I think it's super fun and fresh and summery while it is absolutely snowing like crazy outside. But I'm gonna go ahead and remove this. I'm hurting already, but it's like I could take a break or I could film the rest of this tomorrow, but I'm the kind of person that when I start something that is a little bit tough, I would rather just get it done and then be able to enjoy my break versus like taking a break knowing I have to come back to it, if that makes sense. Not with everything, like obviously at like my previous jobs and stuff, when I got the chance to get my 15-minute break, I would go take it. But for things like this, and anyways, this is totally off topic, but yeah, I'm gonna remove this and come back for 6. Okay, we are getting there. On to palette number 6. I was kind of thinking it was 7, honestly. Okay, this is the one in Smokey. If you are a fan of Smokey Eye, this is gonna be the palette for you. 3 different mattes and 3 shimmers. Again, 2 metallics and one of the kind of super sparkly shades like I mentioned before. This one is black but has like some blue in it. Then this shade here, this kind of grayish shade, is really smooth, like really buttery. The black feels a little bit chalkier, but if you are a fan of smoky shades, then this could be something you'll enjoy. I'm gonna start with this lighter gray here in Second Date. I feel like the other one is going to be quite deep. These are not the kind of shades I ever go for, because for a long time, like, black was like expected to be in a palette, and then I feel like it changed, which I know some people don't like because a lot of people obviously liked having a black in a palette. For me, it's not a necessity. It's not something I ever reach for. But let me know, are you, is that something that you like? Because I know some people will use black shadows to like set their eyeliner and stuff too, but not I. I feel like this is going on a little bit patchy. I don't know if it's just my face rejecting eyeshadow. I'm gonna take the deeper shade here and just kind of pat it in. My eyes are sore and I hate these kinds of colors, so as of right now, I hate the way that this looks. But I'm just salty. As if like someone's sitting here making me do this. I do want to do, I don't want to seem like I'm complaining. I'm having fun playing with this. This is kind of what I was planning on doing anyways. So like I said, I figured we would do it together. I'm going to then take this glittery shade and see, wow, this is like the night's sky in an eyeshadow here. Wow. It looks more blue on the eyes. This is pretty. Wow, much more blue on the eyes, almost a little bit of a greeny reflect, but really pretty. And like, I'm just patting this down with my finger. No added base, and it's very shimmery. I am super impressed with the shimmery shade that I put on my lid. I think it looks really sparkly, really glamorous. And something that I'm noticing about these kind of glitter shades that are in the palettes are they're very transformative and lend themselves well to like a one shadow look, because if you pack it on your lid, it's very full color, but as I kind of diffused it a little bit with just my fingers, it kind of gets a little bit lighter. And like I said, I'll blend this a smidge more. Like, these are not perfected looks, but as you kind of blend these shadows, they kind of transform a little bit. And it's really an interesting color. I also put on winged liner because I felt like this look kind of needed it. And then I'm wearing the Uncuffed again with the Nude Sticks gloss. So yeah, I think that palette is really cute. I don't love the first shade that I put down. I felt that that was a little bit patchy. I didn't make use of the black because that's not really my kind of shade, and I wouldn't buy the palette just for this eyeshadow. But if you do tend to like these colors, this is definitely one to keep an eye out for, because this glitter formula that they have in there is really, really pretty and quite easy to work with. I got a little bit of fallout, but I just used a spoolie to kind of get that off my face, and nothing too dark. You can always do your eyeshadow first as well before your foundation. So yeah, I actually quite like the way that this turned out, considering I'm not really a smoky eye kind of gal, but now I've got to remove it. I wanted to do this palette last, but I knew if I didn't do the palettes in order, people might be upset. So gonna remove this one, and then what are we on to? Number 8? Number 7. Yeah, number 7, and I'm excited about this one. I am absolutely covered in glitter. I have like glitter freckles. I don't know if you can tell. Number 7 is a palette that I think if I was to go purchase one, I think it would be this one, because it's different from a lot of the other palettes I have. While I love the peach and the pink, like those are definitely the types of palettes I gravitate towards, I also try to purchase things that are a little bit different than everything I already own in my collection. So this is number 7 in Cadet. So you're getting this like beautiful army green, a mustard. I've got them swatched here on my hand. So this is like, I don't know, when I saw this palette, it immediately reminded me of the ever so controversial Subculture palette, and these were the kind of shades that were in that palette, and that's what really drew me to that. So you've got a shimmery, this one again has 4 mattes, so some more mattes. So you've got a shimmery kind of goldy yellowy green, and then this shimmery kind of bronze, and then you've got mid-tone matte brown, a deep teal, an army green, and then a mustard, which isn't showing up on my hand that well, but we'll see how it looks on the eyes. So let me start with this mid-tone brown here, which is Take Cover. Do you prefer like a mini eyeshadow palette? Do you like something bigger? Like, I know some people like minis because they tend to be more cohesive and it's a little more obvious, I guess, what kind of look you'll get out of it. But then they're of course more restricting. Or do you like something bigger so that you can play more? But then those can be daunting and you're like, I don't know what you want me to do here. For me, it really depends. Like, I love the like Smashbox mini palettes. I thought that those were so great. NYX has some really good minis. Wet n Wild and CoverGirl, like they all have like very cohesive palettes. But then like the NYX Modern Dreamer is one that I've loved recently, or the Urban Decay Born to Run. They all had kind of interesting shade combinations, which led me to play a bit more. So this shade isn't showing up as much on my eyelids as I would like. I'm gonna take the Army Green shade. I'm a little worried about mixing the Army Green and the yellow, because I do want to use the yellow too. And these shades I find, I know I've talked about this a bunch, but these shades I have a hard time getting like a good Army Green to show up on my eyes. So let's see if it looks greenish, but not super green in my opinion. I do like the color though, it just doesn't look as green on my eyes. I'm gonna take the teal green and just kind of pat it down to add some more depth. Don't worry, I will blend. So I think people had issues with the Subculture for a lot of different reasons. Like some of them were just the actual formulation of the eyeshadows. You know, the brand had said like, or some people had said like, you're mixing like yellows and greens, like of course it's gonna look muddy. It was so much. I didn't actually mind the palette, honestly. I like these colors. So this is the first time I've done this, but I put down a little more concealer for the yellow to stick to, because I just felt like the yellow wasn't going to stick otherwise, based on the way it's swatched. It doesn't have, it's like a very mustardy yellow, which is actually very pretty. I wish it had like a little more brightness, but that's actually really pretty. I love yellow eyeshadow. Taking the yellowy gold, this is a beautiful shade. I think I've come to the conclusion that these kind of colors, maybe I'm just not skilled enough, but these kind of colors look great like technically, in terms of colors that look nice to each other, next to each other, but I feel like they just don't translate on the eyes as nicely. So this look is definitely not as exciting as I wanted it to be. This was the palette I was probably the most excited about. I ended up bringing some of the gold onto the gold shimmer onto my lid as well, because it just felt a little bit dull. Again, like, I want to love this. It could just be that it's my 7th eye look, but the shades to me, they do tend to get a little bit muddy and a little bit drab when paired together, although they look incredible together in the palette, and it's like I want my living room to be those colors. I don't know that I want my eyeshadows to be those colors, but I definitely will continue to play with that one. That one is the most intriguing to me, and it's kind of the most different but still approachable in terms of the types of eyeshadows that I go for. So I'm gonna remove this, and then we're on number 8. So palette number 8 is a pretty fun one. This is the one that I mentioned that is all shimmer shades. So this is Pastel Frost, which I thought was a pretty cool palette. It's pretty unique. It really kind of reminds me of those Easter pastel-y shades, and these are all metallics, but they almost feel kind of creamy, especially this light blue shade. So I'll probably do one shade all over the lid and then the gold on the inner corner. This is what they all look like here. They have like a really nice kind of finish to them. Super, super shimmery, but no glitter, just like a really kind of smooth shimmer. And they all seem to be pretty evenly pigmented. I will say this blue one just feels a little bit creamier than the other ones. Not necessarily in a good way. It almost feels a little too creamy, but the other ones are all really evenly pigmented. So let's move on to the last one. I think I'm gonna go fully green on this look, because why not? I did like a green look with that NYX palette I mentioned earlier a little while back, and I loved it. And I feel like this will be similar. You can see how easily that went on. This probably won't be the palette for everybody, I think, pretty clearly. But the people who want this kind of shades are gonna be super pumped, because there's not a lot out there like it. It's gonna blend a little bit with a clean brush. This is the kind of eyeshadow look that you really want to have your face makeup on point, because it's like kind of aggressive. And my makeup is the opposite of on point here. And like I said, I'm gonna put the gold on the inner corner. Because like if I was to do this, I would probably just choose like the peach, the rose, what was it called, Cadet, and then this one, and then I would be like leaving out an entire category. Or like no matter what I chose, somebody would be like, oh, why didn't you do this? You should have done that. So I was like, you know what, I'm gonna do them all. Okay, we're gonna finish on this green look. On my lips, by the way, I was wearing this in the last look as well. Makeup Forever Artist Nude Cream in the shade 05. But yeah, I think this last palette is super fun. Like I said, it's a little bit of a different one. It's not going to be for everyone, where there's kind of bright colors, pastel colors, there's no mattes in there. But I feel like these shades and the formula will look good, or will at least show up on every single skin tone, even if you have a deeper skin tone, because it's somewhere in between like a cream eyeshadow and a powder eyeshadow. So even without like a strong white base or anything, it definitely shows up, and it's super shimmery, really, really pretty. And I love the look of the green and the gold, and I think come springtime, although it feels very far away, I think it's really, really kind of a pretty palette. So overall, I gotta say, I do definitely enjoy these palettes. There's no like major dud or anything. There's nothing that seems like out of place. I also think they're a really good price, especially in the US, like $25. Here in Canada, some drugstore palettes cost $25 now, depending on the day. So I think that seems to be a pretty good price, especially if it's going to be a palette of shades that you don't already have, or one that you plan on using all the time. I think it's cool that they snap together. Did I even show you that? I think I did. We've got two palettes here, and they snap together on the back, which I mean, like, it's not gimmicky. And especially if you plan on like purchasing two and kind of keeping them together, you can then open them up while they're connected. Is it something like that I absolutely need? No, but I think it's cute, and it doesn't like get in the way of the packaging. It's still super sleek packaging. It's not like overly bulky or anything in order to make them snap together. So that is it. Thank you so much for watching. Let me know down below which palette caught your eye. Are you interested in these at all? Are you done with the holiday shopping, because it's just been madness for the past month or so? And if you'd like to connect with me, you can find me on Instagram, Twitter, and Facebook at SamanthaJaneYT, and I'll see you guys next time. Bye!